With ADA Cardano's total value locked and its ecosystem growing quite substantially over the last few weeks and the last few months, we have started to finally see ADA Cardano's price see some momentum and actually gain some traction. We were starting to see the price grow from, March 13th to now, up a pretty substantial 37 to 40%. But at this point, now that we are starting to see that growth become quite exponential, I wanted to issue something of a warning as we are getting a few bearish signs from these trading view charts in the short term, as well as looking at the more long-term perspective as to why I do think that there is growth, but it may not be as clear to the upside as we may expect. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and let's get straight into it. So looking at ADA Cardano, of course, one thing that we have seen is that there have been two key levels of resistance that we've been interacting with over the last couple months, realistically since September. That is going to be main trend line number one and the breakout trend line. Now, what main trend line number one is the general area in which we have respected as resistance. As you can see, we've run into it multiple times on multiple occasions and have been rejected by it. But there have been a few occasional moments where some good news would come out, something pretty interesting would happen that would send ADA Cardano out from below this trend line, but then it would run into a secondary level of resistance, which is our red trend line here. Now, as we were establishing this red trend line here, we also established a red trend line here on our RSI, which is the point in which we will start to see the momentum of the bulls weakening. So that kind of tells us that we already have our goals. Our goals are clearly that we need to get above green line, that we need to get above the red line. If we're capable of doing that, that is a clear directional change and, kind of shift in the market for ADA Cardano as it does venture into a new, something of a new phase, right? Now, at this point, what we are seeing is that ADA Cardano is pretty substantially outperforming the rest of the market today. I mean, we can see things such as BNB being up 0.12% and DOT being up 1.9%, AVAX up 1.6%, but ADA is up about 9.37%. And as we see these days where ADA Cardano is outperforming the rest of the market, such as here and such as here, we have a tendency in the ADA Cardano community to see people get a bit too excited. Oh, this is it. This is when ADA is going back to $2, $3, $4, $5, and it does get a little bit toxic. Okay, so I'm here to offer a quick warning in saying that this does seem as if it is still within the realm of normal for ADA, okay, in which until we are capable of breaking this red trend line at this point and starting to lose this interaction here with this key level of macro bullish resistance or bearish resistance on the RSI, we can't get too excited here, okay? We can't get too excited to say that this is the moment that we have all been waiting for, because at this point, this is nothing but normal, okay? So what I'm looking for personally is that we need to, one, get back from below this red level of resistance. As we can see, as we are approaching it right now, we are also approaching it here on our RSI and getting extended into the top side of our Bollinger Band envelope. Every single time that we see this happen, we interact with this line, we interact with this line, we get extended outside the Bollinger Band envelopes, we have seen the continuation to the downside for ADA Cardano. And so considering the fact that the circumstances are the exact same at this point, we need to be very aware and very careful of the fact that this very possibly could still continue back towards the downside. The way in which I will be personally getting more excited saying, okay, maybe this is the moment we have been waiting for, is the moment in which we are capable of coming back up and clearing this macro level of resistance at $1.20. If we're capable of breaking $1.20, a couple things happen. Item number one is going to be the fact that we have now officially set a new macro regional higher high off of a high that touched the green line. Breaking this high was okay. Or, breaking even this little high down here was okay. But when we're capable of breaking a rejectional high off of a macro level of resistance, that's very important to say that the momentum is for sure shifting, okay? Another reason that's important is because it starts to cancel out some of the bearish divergence we're seeing here on the RSI, in which we are setting these lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, but we're still starting to set these higher highs. That is going to give us bearish divergence to say that the momentum is falling short every single time that we try to make a push to the top side. And then lastly, of course, that does get us back above this red level of resistance, all of which are going to be key moments and key items for us to say that this bullish divergence in which we are seeing is finally playing out. Because remember, we did see this low and this low. We went down to set the lower low while setting the higher low on the RSI. And if we're capable of working our way back up above $1.20 and getting the daily closes at this level, I do believe that that is the confirmation that this bullish divergence is in play and that we then could start to see that $1.50, maybe even up to $1.75 point. Now, getting to that point, I think getting up to 120 and clearing it is not going to be easy. As we can see, again, we are extended outside of our Bollinger Bands, and typically speaking, when that happens, we will see a pullback soon. And now, considering the fact that we are not only going to see the extension outside the Bollinger Bands, but also the extension up to our overbought territory on the RSI, as well as seeing an interaction with this key level of resistance, it would not surprise me in the slightest to see this thing either consolidate or start to break back to the downside before trying to reestablish support and continuing to the top side. And considering the fact that this is still on the table and that is still a risk because we are so overextended already, I'm not buying ADA Cardano right now, again, until we are capable of at least breaking this macro regional high and then looking to start, a new pace, starting to set a new trend for ADA Cardano over the long term. That's the warning, that's the update, and that's the recap. You got to be very, very careful right now because although this looks amazing, and if you're only looking at this macro green trend line, you will say, oh, well, it broke it. But we do have this key level of resistance sitting right above us that very possibly could continue our push towards the downside, which would, of course, not be good for those people who are buying in that area. Now, a good thing to note, though, and a good thing, for just to end off the video is the fact that we are getting a beautiful extension on the MACD on the daily charts. So even if we do start to see a bit of a pullback, a short-term consolidation or a pullback, we have a lot of room here for this thing to slow down without seeing that bearish cross happen as we did here. There is room for consolidation to allow those shorter-term time frames to reset and then continue to the top side. And if we do look at the weekly MACD, something you can see is that we are on track to see a very beautiful bullish cross, which does not happen very often in the times in which it has happened, such as right here, we have seen some extreme growth. So although things in the short term do look a little bit rocky and there is still a lot of proving to do on the longer term time frames, it does show us that there is extreme potential at this point for ADA Cardano to see that growth back up to the top side that we've been looking for. But it definitely does come down to, do we let these short term indicators reset? Do we get back above $1.20? We break this macro level of red resistance, this red resistance line right here, and then we can start to say that's a strong confirmation of some new growth back to the upside. So of course, as this does play out, whether it's continuing up or whether it's continuing down, I'm going to continue to let you guys know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. Remember, my goal here is to not tell you it's going to go up or it's going to go down and not give anything direct, right? My whole goal is to prepare you for any outcome because no one on YouTube and no one on earth knows exactly what is going to happen with these prices. I'm not going to try to fool you and say that I know exactly what's going to happen because I don't. But what I can do is say, if this, then that, or if this, then that. And I operate off of the thens. When something happens, when I get a confirmation to the upside or the downside, I act on it and I use those trades and I use the technical analysis to make gains no matter where the market goes. And that's my game. That's how I play it. So with that said, that is going to be about it for today's video. And of course, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new. And I will see you all next time. Peace.